There we go. I can't believe I had it going for 8 minutes and didn't even have it recording.
You are a terrible person.
I am a horrible person, yes.
You failed me for the last time.
I'm not Ferb Slade.
What he's saying is he's going to fail you again.
Ferb's not that bad. I don't know. Yeah, let's leave Slade to answer that one.
I have no comment at this time. He's going to be abandoning me soon for a long weekend.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, he's going to go spend a little bit of time with his other family. And I will be left by my lonesome.
I assume his other family doesn't appreciate the amount of time that he spends on video games compared to living with you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there was complaints when he was still in school over the matter, but nowadays, I kind of get the impression that they've given up complaining because there's no one listening.
Well, you never know. Video games may one day save his life.
That's right. Especially if he were into Elder Scrolls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got huge windows where he's got himself set up, so he would need a lot of protection.
Yeah, I still can't believe that Elder Scrolls lore book saved that man's life from that bullet. That was crazy. He just heard a pop. He heard glass break in his room somewhere, and after being confused and roaming around looking to find something, he found a bullet hole in his wall. The bullet had been stopped by an Elder Scrolls Online lore book, and the trajectory would have apparently hit him if the lore book hadn't stopped the bullet. That's amazing.
That is amazing. I never played the game, but maybe I should.
Yeah, now that you know it'll save your life.
Yes, how much do you love yourself? You still think it's not worth it, Slade?
I mean, I played Elder Scrolls Online, and it's got its points. It's okay. I don't know. I'm kind of the combat system was its own thing, and I'm appreciative of the fact that it is set up as a different thing. It's just not something was really keen on putting myself into. I played it for a while with, what was it, the Bombers, and I just reached a point where I'm like, I'm not really seeing any progress for all the activity I'm doing here, so I'm kind of done now.
Well,
yeah, my only... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I can understand that, but the combat system seemed to work out pretty good for this guy that's life was saved.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't remember being able to sit there and throw books at people in the game. I guess I missed that particular skill tree.
It was an unlock.
Within the past couple of weeks, it's interesting just to see how polar opposite the topic of video games has gotten. I mean, you have it where here, on one hand, it saved basically this guy's life, and on another hand, there was another article that I read where obsessed video gaming dad gives up games for 90 days in order to reconnect with his family, which is very admirable. It's awesome that he does that. Definitely, if it really does take that much away, I mean, your family's suffering by not having you, or just being neglected.
Mm-hmm.
There are personality types where you are obsessive about things, and if games falls within that spectrum, then you're going to have issues.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, do you have self-control or not? And if you don't have self-control, then you're going to have issues.
Oh yeah. Apparently his wife even called it an excessive addiction.
Well, successful games are addictive. That's how they make money.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's not, I'm not convinced that the game is the problem. I think you're right. It's the person.
Oh yeah.
It can be anything, really. If you're obsessive about it and don't have self-control, then there's going to, same thing with, say, alcoholics or, I mean, just really anything. I mean, shopaholics. I've got family members that have had issues in the past where they've had to have someone, put a kibosh to them going out and shopping because they would sit there and they would just go out and that's all they would do. And, if you're made out of money, maybe it doesn't create necessarily an issue, but, if you're not, then again, it's a matter of the personality and perhaps other factors, because I believe there was or is some other mental health issues in the case of the family member I'm speaking of.
Well, anytime, even if you are made of money, anytime your entire life is sacrificed for something artificial, I mean, that sucks. It's not good. Whether it's alcohol or drugs or gambling or video games, it's a tragedy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's even easier to say that coming from the disabled end of that spectrum, being physically disabled and having a lot of time to spend at home doing nothing sometimes. It's just very easy to end up getting just enveloped in some sort of game at the time. And when my wife is home from work or when family's over visiting, sometimes I have a lot of things going on in games that, sadly, due to the game's mechanics, can't be stopped then and there.
Yep.
And then it definitely looks like I have a problem.
Yeah, it might look to them, but if you were playing a soccer game with your friends, it wouldn't be an issue, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. And I've always thought that same kind of concept goes along with video games. I mean, for a while there, it was like an adult playing video games was very, very childish and looked down upon. But when you look at it, what is the difference in playing a video game and watching a sport being played on TV?
Right.
Well, number one, the main difference is with the video games, your mind is just, it's interacting with the video game. I mean, you're getting mental stimulation as opposed to the just
passive watching, hero worship crap.
That's right. Hero worship as opposed to fantasy hero worship.
So, you fantasy hero worship.
Well, I'm playing Elite right now, and I first played this on a Commodore 64 way too many years ago, and my dad got just about addicted to it. And it's interesting, I've been talking to him about playing this game, and he's got so many fond memories. This is 3 decades now, and he still remembers playing this game. And my dad is a manly guy. He was a millwright at the time. Big, strong guy, and super smart. He's got a teacher's degree. I think it's a master's. He comes from a family of educators. And, I'm not sure that his friends at that time could understand his desire to come home and play a video game. But it was interesting because it really connected with me when I was that age, when I was young. I mean, I don't know. I'm 46 now, so yeah, I was in my teens. And it was neat to have my dad doing the same thing that I was interested in. And he got right into the game. He knew everything about it, and I didn't, which is weird for that time. And now here I am, I'm 46 years old, and I'm playing the same game and learning about all the things in it. And the difference now is that while not all of my friends play video games, none of them think it's pathetic.
Yeah.
The social stigma has lessened. Obviously, there's not quite the same media attacks that occurred in, a decade or so ago.
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time Fox News has aired some propaganda about, video games, leading to
school shootings and stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of, well, I'll be honest, it's ever since that Supreme Court case was finally won, it seems like the fervor has died down, because obviously, they can't pass a law because it's immediately going to get put up against that ruling and get knocked out. And, if they were so concerned and so sure of themselves, why did they stop?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not the topic. We're talking about people playing games and people having problems playing in games.
Well, I think it definitely still goes into the topic, though, because, I was even looking at an article the other day where basically they were saying, just in short, that violent video games do not cause some of the issues that we see in society today. And, I could see both ends of the argument, really. It just really, I guess, depends on how you're looking at it. Because if all you do is play something very, very violent, you become accustomed to it. You become numb to it. It doesn't bother you as much. I've experienced that firsthand. I know that it's a real thing. And I think it just goes to basically, it's according to the person and how they adapt to it. At least that's my feeling on it. If they can, just have it in the back of their mind that, hey, I'm being entertained by this, but still in society it's wrong and looked down upon, then, okay. I can get that. But there's probably still others who, due to some sort of genetic inability or something, that prevents them from seeing how negatively it affects others. I guess, if that makes sense.
The people who are prone to violence are already violent. The media, whether it be a game, a book, a movie, doesn't make them violent because they were already violent to begin with. It might sit there and possibly either encourage them to act something out, or also potentially act as a catharsis to release the potential for violence. But I don't think of the medium as taking someone who is not capable of enacting violence and making them a violent person.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that it would do that. I definitely agree that the person who is violent is already that way. The media doesn't make them that way. It, like you said, and I guess that's kind of what I was trying to lean to, is that it can encourage it. That's what makes more sense, I guess.
Well, it can justify it when you're in when you're a kid and somebody offers you drugs the first time, you say, "No, man, I don't want to do drugs." And then you're in your later teens and you've had a couple of beers, and then you think, well, everybody else is doing it. That's one thing about swearing or lying or being violent. If you're surrounded by it, it normalizes it, and you can sort of justify it in your mind, and you find it easier to say, well, this is why I'm doing this, and it's cool that I'm doing this because of XYZ. So one thing that a movie is over in 2 hours, a TV show is over in 42 minutes or something, but a video game can go on for hours and hours and hours as long as you're willing to play it. So it does, I guess it has the potential to be more influential. Plus, also, like we were talking about before, you're mentally engaged and you're playing the character. You're not just passively watching other people do something. You're making decisions and doing things in a game.
Yeah.
So, feeling violent now?
Terribly.
Oh, so aggressive, yes.
Only when I play PlanetSide.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, completely. I had to actually stop playing because, I mean, my hiatus from PlanetSide 2 was just because I got aggravated with a lot of things, and it was affecting me emotionally, sadly, so I just had to stop playing. And once I stopped playing, it helped.
Yep.
So I think it does definitely tie up to the person and how they are themselves able to deal with it. But, I mean, the game itself didn't cause basically the aggravation. I mean, from something I was, probably already aggravated.
The mechanics of it probably helped, cause some aggravation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember going through the same thing with World of Tanks. I mean, within 2 games, I was raging so much so that even Ferb would sit there and like, hey, maybe you need to knock it off. So, if my son's telling me to cool my jets, then, I'm probably having an issue because just the combination of the mechanics and the player base just set me off.
I get that.
And I probably did the same thing with PlanetSide 2, or as I like to call it, Death by SMG. I mean,
oh yeah,
the most fun I have in that game was just running around in that light tank with AA guns because I could be very self-sufficient and deal with multiple types of scenarios. I killed a what was the stupid floater tank of the Banu?
Mag Rider.
Mag Rider. I killed a Mag Rider with my light tank with its AA gun. It was hilarious.
It is. Sorry.
It was. I mean, on a cliff edge, and of course, as soon as I got my nose underneath him and pushed him up so he's on top of me, and I just turned and tilted over the edge and watched him slide into oblivion.
That's hilarious. That's, I was about to say, it was really, really sometimes easy to kill the Mag Rider. All you had to do was get under it. I mean, it's a floating tank. So, after a certain amount of times going up against it, you kind of think to yourself, I wonder what the best way to deal with the scenario is. And you just kind of naturally drive underneath the Mag Rider and just, if you can, stay underneath it. I mean, there is the added bonus that it has of strafing, so it could just strafe off of you. But, I mean, being in an anti-air lightning, the small tank, It was so easy to get underneath it and then just go off on it and just wait for it to explode.
So what does your wife think of you gaming, Shrek?
Probably
mild annoyance.
A little bit, and he's mostly passive. I mean, she kind of walks by and sees what I'm doing and thinks it's interesting at times, but that's about it. What about yours?
I'm not sure she gets it. She understands that I've made a lot of really good friends. I've got friends that I've been gaming with for 20 years. But she doesn't get the fascination. Like, she comes in and watches Elite, and she's like, I don't get why you would play that for 5 minutes, let alone 4 hours.
Uh-huh.
You know, and she thinks she'll hear me. So I'm very into Squad lately. I think it may turn into the best video game I've ever played. I think it's brilliant. And I get invested in it. So I'll get mad. Like I will rage if I'm not doing well, or if, you know, we just completely get outsmarted. And so she gets concerned about that. She's like, well, you can't be having fun if you're mad. But the truth is if I wasn't invested, if it didn't mean anything to me, I wouldn't get mad, and I also wouldn't care. It wouldn't be fun.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
I have vague memories of when I was still married, and the wife would just throw fits over me playing EverQuest.
Yeah, because ever was in the name. You never stopped.
Yeah. To be honest, there were other issues at play. It was, and the thing about the gaming is it was an escapism from reality, because reality was unpleasant at that time. Yeah. And I had my escape, and she never could find an escape of her own, so she had to just, vent on me about it. I'm very happy for my quiet and peaceful house now.
Aside from Ferb getting really into, what's he playing these days?
He's playing a Star Maid a lot of the times now.
Ah. You know, Star Maid just really seems to have been his thing. I remember when it first came out, I was a little bit interested. And it's been off and on since then. But for him, it's been incessant for the past 5 years.
He builds ships. He tests out mechanics. He deals with problem solving. And he loves it because he looks at whatever the current meme is in the gameplay, and he figures out a way of dealing with it, and then he comes in and he shows everyone up, and then everyone has to change what they're doing to present him with a new problem to solve.
Cool.
I mean, he was building he built a frigate-sized drone with a mechanic on it so that it was basically towing what looked like a minefield, and the ship was stealthed, and it was, as soon as it got close enough to an enemy ship, it would deploy the arm to lay the explosives into it, because the current meme is all shields, no armor. So he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to put a whole bunch of explosives against your hull, and basically, deal with the problem that way.
Wow.
When I saw what he was doing, I was like, is there any way you can make it so it looks like you just got a big hammer you're swinging on somebody? That ship is armed with a hammer. And the whole world, or the whole universe has become a nail.
As long as I've known him myself, he's always been very, very creative, and he's always used a large amount of ingenuity to solve problems.
Yes, I remember seeing his TNT cannons, his omnidirectional TNT cannons.
Omnidirectional. I think he and I were actually developing them at the same time for our Minecraft faction servers, and we would share ideas and techniques. That was fun. It was like two major factions technology sharing in Hearts of Iron.
Yeah, it seems to be his thing. He does similar things with what's the other game, the Robocraft one, where you similar to Star Maid, where you're building things out of the blocks, but it's small scale arena combat. And he made a little ship. I mean, a little hover thing would it basically looked like a huge cube with helicopter blades on all 6 sides, and basically he could just go in any direction at will and spin around, And because he could consistently keep it in motion, most ordnance was useless against him. And he would just sit there and basically be like a bumblebee on the battlefield, just annoying people. It was quite humorous to watch over his shoulder.
I bet.
So do you find yourself having moments of a proud papa, like a dad who's watching his son play some game at a sports field?
Dude, I will tell you, Ferb's first exposure to gaming was the original Warcraft. The RTS. He was probably 2 or 3 years old, maybe 4. But he was sitting on my lap, and I just loaded up basically a blank map with a bunch of the NPC mobs. I think it was sheep. So I showed him how to use the mouse and click on the sheep, and it would make a noise. It would baa at him, and he thought that was cute. So he's sitting there. He just keeps clicking. It keeps baaing, and after a certain time, it blew up. and he kind of jumped, and then he just started cackling with laughter, and then started scrolling around the map looking for more sheep to click to death.
How endearing.
And the thing is, I don't remember showing him how to scroll. He just basically started figuring stuff out. So he's always had a inclination towards the gaming.
An inclination towards the exploding sheep.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to get your jolly somewhere.
This entire time he's been gaming now, it's just been that one long journey of finding just that next sheep to explode. Whether it be in space or on land.
Point and click adventure. So, were we going to also discuss your the varsity sports thing on the online gaming? Or
yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I thought that was interesting to read about as well. Ratzo, did you hear about that? Where you basically were there these not colleges. I don't know if they're colleges or not, but these schools are offering scholarships for positions in their eSports teams, and they're just starting apparently to do this. It's starting to take off. I thought it was really interesting to hear about that. Kind of weird.
It is weird because while I think that gaming is perfectly normal, apparently I still have a bias against it being a recognized sport.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense as to why I was feeling the same way. Because, when I first saw it, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't like this. This is weird. And, that just makes sense. It's just that bias.
So what kind of games is it? Because I can see them investing in games that can promote leadership, problem solving, those sort of things, team building.
MOBA. So yeah, team building type games.
Okay.
Like League of Legends. I actually think I saw one that was Hearthstone. I've never even seen a screenshot of Hearthstone, so I'm not sure exactly what the mechanics
that's
would
a
be.
collectible card game type.
Okay.
That's
I know League of
base. That's 1-on-1.
Interesting. Then I wonder why that would be proposed as a varsity game.
Because they do have competitions with that. So it's still conceivable that, if you want a relevant sport to compare it to, say, wrestling,
or chess, yeah.
Or chess.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Definitely a team-based system with League of Legends, though. I mean, I played that once, and I saw how much it just relies on whether or not your team knows what they're doing with the character they have.
And work together.
Exactly.
Yes, I've been yelled at. Get out of center. I'm farming. Like, okay, I'll go up and just hang up there and be lonesome.
Oh, poor Slade.
That's why I like Squad so much, is because it is all about teamwork. Everybody has a part to play, and if any one person doesn't do their part, the whole team is messed up.
And then they're told about it. And later.
Yes, that's true.
I guess soon you'll start seeing international games. I mean, basically, you already got they just broadcasted eSports already. So
there is
it
already
would make
professional
sense. Yeah, so it would make sense that it would go the same route as professional sports. I could just imagine, nowadays you see, your basic football dad, on Sunday just has friends over and watches the game, the football game, and 50 years from now, the son is going to be, having their friends over watching the League of Legends game,
right,
if that's still going at the time, for their state's eSports team.
Yep. I guess I definitely hope that we don't lose physical team sport, because I think that we as humans learn and enjoy that. I love gaming, but I don't think it replaces football.
Now you got to realize, whether it's esports or real sports, for a school, it's nothing but marketing. That's the only purpose it serves.
Sure.
Them.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm not surprised to hear about it being done, because, again, it's all about marketing.
And with the younger generation getting more and more into that than the physical sports, I mean, they're no doubt feeling a little bit of an income loss, maybe. So maybe they're just trying to balance it out and make sure that they touch all spectrums of the marketing for sports. I mean, whether it be esports or physical sports. As long as their brand, their name, their school's name is on the t-shirt, then, they're good. They're set. They're getting their royalties.
Yeah. And getting kids wanting to go there so that they can play on their team.
And, get them to go there so that they get their tuition money.
Yep.
It's all marketing. It's kind of sad, but it is all marketing most of the time.
No, I've spent much time on a university where my dad worked. It is 100% marketing. That's all they care about.
I just think it's so funny seeing these polar opposite ends of video gaming these days. Definitely just recently. I mean, you've got here video games saving lives, and you've got varsity esports teams starting, and on the other hand you have these guys that are taking a hiatus from video games. One guy, a teenager, even living in the wilderness for a certain amount of time to help his video gaming addiction. It's becoming one of these vices that just, I don't know. I'll shut up now, I guess. It's one of those things that's requiring more and more control, I think, in certain ways. Not necessarily control, just maybe self-control.
Recognition of the potential. Because, again, there's a lot of different people on the planet, and different things, they interact with different things in different ways. So,
yeah. Awareness. I guess that's what I'm looking for.
That's awareness. It's a tool and it's a weapon at the same time. So you can use it for good, you can use it for bad, and you generally don't want to get any of it on your hands.
Well, that's the thing, is inanimate things don't have the capacity to be good or evil.
Same thing with digital items.
Exactly. My sister has to have a library in every home she buys. So she worked in Paris for 10 years. And the difference between Canada or the US and Paris is, their apartments are closets. And it's it's quite expensive for her to have a library over there. But she has to have it. I'm sitting in front of my computer now, and I've spent hundreds of dollars every year for the last, I don't know, since the mid-90s on my gaming computer. So there's a lot of money sitting in front of me. And people would say, you're insane. You're crazy. But if you go in and you look at my sister's library, she's probably spent way more than that. And it's normal. I think what it is that this industry is only decades old, whereas movies are 100 years old and books are hundreds of years old, and we're still in the infancy of this. I think in another 50 years, this will just seem normal to everybody.
Actually, I think even today, there's been enough of a normalization that I don't see a lot of raised eyebrows over. I mean, I remember playing video games back in the 90s as well, or even before that.
Yep.
But you still have certain groups that are insular, and so they'll still have the same reaction as before. But when it comes to, everyone, even if they don't play games, you say something and they've had enough awareness to know what you're talking about. Yeah. So you don't get a dumbfounded look. So I would call that normalization. And so many people and so many different kinds of people are playing games now. So yeah, I'm a part of the PC master race, but you know what? Almost everyone with an iPhone probably has played a game on it, and those things are everywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean all over the place.
So the normalization of gaming has occurred simply because of the fact that everyone has access to them now.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the same thing that happened with books. As soon as there was a printing press, then it became normal.
Yes, Gutenberg was such a geek.
Yes.
Actually, didn't the Codex exist in, let's see, how far back, when was the Codex invented?
The Codex or the printing press?
The Codex, the actual book. I mean, the printing press just expedited the printing of the book.
Well, you had wood prints before that. So someone would carve out the image that they wanted on the book and then stamp that on the page by hand, and that was, trying to think, I know Germany and Dutch were doing that, but I don't know.
As well as 5th century Egypt.
Well, the Romans had books. The Jews had scrolls. Romans had books.
Everything
was codex, right?
Yeah, but it was all hand printed.
Oh yes, yeah. There was. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Gutenberg for the mass printing of things.
Yeah. Everyone had scrolls. Everyone had stone tablets. So it
just wasn't practical to have a novel because somebody had to copy it.
Yes. Yeah. No one was sitting there painstakingly writing Gone with the Wind for the mass market back then.
No.
Not to say that there wasn't fiction available, because there was.
Well, it was largely presented in oral histories and plays, because a small group of people could learn a story and then present that story. And it wasn't sent to the individual, it was sent to a town, so that people would come into a town and present these stories. Teachers would pass on things like that. It's a great luxury that we can sit and read War and Peace ourselves. And somebody on the other side of the world can read War and Peace. And then we can get on the internet and talk about what happened in chapter 2, paragraph 3. It's pretty amazing.
It is actually really nice. Really, really cool. Mass distribution.
Yeah.
And the internet itself, I mean, that medium for those two communicating is most of the source in the modern age of people even reading War and Peace.
Yeah.
I mean, probably half the people reading it today are reading it on a tablet, a smartphone, some sort of screen.
Yep.
Which, by the way, great book and great TV series.
War and Peace.
Yeah. I like classical things.
I never get to
Although
watch it.
really...
As soon as something's a period piece, my wife falls asleep.
Aw.
It doesn't matter how good it is.
I'll watch it with you, Ratzo.
I appreciate that. And you know what? In today's day and age, we could, while we're flying around between space stations.
Yeah, actually, there's a website that I use that I sync YouTube. That Bombers and I will sync YouTube videos with, and we'll watch playlists together, and just
cool.
It's a really cool system.
Actually, that is really cool. I didn't know
Only
that
works
thing
with
existed.
YouTube and something else though.
Vimeo?
They try to keep it. Maybe, I think so. They try to keep it where the videos are going to be legit and not copyrighted.
Right.
Because there's nothing copyrighted and infringed upon with YouTube. No. Never. No. Do not snip around my channel.
Yeah, you know what? Just make sure you've got two different things that are copyrighted, so it deadlocks out.
I'm not sure that's how it works.
Well, you won't get any ads run on it, but no one else will either. Assuming they're not going to do a copyright strike itself, which is a different thing, but
Yeah, you explained that. Was it on the last podcast you explained
I
it?
don't know. I don't know it.
I think we recorded it. I think that was during the podcast. I don't remember.
First or second one?
Second, I think. Maybe it was third.
So, are we ever going to have any kind of introduction on people, or are we just going to assume they know who we are because it's that one community that's listening to this?
Well, whenever we have somebody like Ratzo come in, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and let's call it now, then we can discuss it. So, we'll see you guys.
Let's just do it as part of the ending then. So, hey, Ratzo, introduce yourself to the community.
Hey, community. Well, I am Ratzo. I got this name when I was in training in the Air Force. And I was a friend with a guy named Jeff Peckham. And his nickname was Weasel. He can explain that. Anyways, I was his friend, and they figured that I needed to be called after a rodent as well. And so I got the name Ratzo. And it sort of just stuck. It's changed spelling over the years. Been gaming forever, my whole life. I started out typing games into a VIC-20 out of a Compute magazine, and it just stuck. Love it. Made a lot of friends, like these two goofballs. And not just friends. When I first started gaming, people thought that the kind of friends that you made online were fake.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've got friends that I love. Things that happen in their lives happen in my life. And I guess that took me by surprise. And, people were important to me. And it's sort of the sort of thing there. You realize, you don't realize what you got until it's gone. It's not exactly that, but I didn't expect these people to be real friends in my life, but it turns out they are. And that has been a really neat thing that I wouldn't have had. I've met people from all over the world who have the same experience as I do. And that's just amazing. You don't get that anywhere else. And so I'm glad that it's becoming normalized in society.
Yay.
I was curious how you got your name. That makes sense now.
Yeah, the guys I was in training at CFB Borden, and so what they would say is, "Ooh, what a rat!" And that's how it started.
Sounds aggressive.
It was. Yep.
I guess a rat in the Air Force, that would make you like, what, a flying squirrel, really?
A flying squirrel, pretty much. Yeah. Yep.
Because, squirrels are just tree rats,
Pretty much.
All right, and I guess we'll do other introductions later since... Anyway.
Yeah, hopefully, guys, next time, Beaver will be here. He's sick at the moment, so that's why we have a stand-in. But hopefully we'll see Ratzo more in the future, too. It's been fun having him around.
Excellent.
Yep. All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.